Well, here it is, gang. These are all the new comic books I bought this week. That's what we're going to talk about. This and also a little stack of books I got out of the dollar bins. So, if you like comic books, if you like talking about new comic books, and maybe most especially if you like getting pissed off because I don't like the same new comic books you do, then stick around. We're going to have some fun. Hey there, buddy. Welcome to Shanghai. My name is Duke, and this is a weekly haul video. And we're going to take a look at all the books I got this past week. And by this past week, I do mean actually last week. These are books that came out August 25th. I'm a little behind the eight ball here on doing these weekly haul videos, but at least, hey, I am back to doing the weekly haul. So that will make some of you happy. I know that there are one or two of you who have stated in the comments that those are your favorite videos. So just for you. Please do like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the groovy things. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. Other than to mention that I get my books at Dotcom Comics and Collectibles in Freeport, Maine. Full disclosure, I work for the company that does own that comic book store. And please do, in the comments below, give a shout out to your local store. Let us know where you get your books. And yeah, that's just there aren't that many comic book stores left actually anymore. By most estimates, there are fewer than 2,000 across the country. And a lot of books, like some of the ones here, have small print runs. And they also, Diamond Distribution doesn't always get those books where they're supposed to go. And so it can be very useful to your fellow collector to know what other stores are out there, to have kind of your review in the comments below of that store, so that if I had missed my Becstar number 4 because Diamond shanked on it, shorted my store, or because this is the only copy my store gets. They get the one copy that I order, and that's something that Diamond is likely to short. It seems strange. Rather than shorting the store that orders 50 copies, and is ordering a bunch for the shelf, they short the store that's ordered one copy that clearly has been pre-ordered by somebody. So, seems a strange business strategy, but that's how they do it. So anyway, if I had missed this, I would like to know what's a good store. Where might I be able to go to rely on to order through the mail a copy of a book that I missed? I am still looking for serial number 2, Terry Moore's serial number 2. If anybody knows of a store that's got that, because comic books have such low print runs, even the Marvel DC books these days, it can be hard to find a book that you have missed. So anyway, I said a moment ago, let's not waste any time. Let us truly not waste any time and get right into it. So this is Becstar. This is number 4. This is from Mad Cave Comics. And I've got to be honest with you. I've got 1 through 3 kicking around, and I've got to read them. They're still in my to-be-read pile. And here's a little bit of what the book looks like inside. Now, I only bought this book just because, a little cartoony there, but maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing. I only bought this book to support the writer, Joe Corallo, largely because, well, not largely, only because I know him from YouTube channels. He's often co-hosting on the Comics by Perch channel, and often also appears on the Thinking Critical with Wes channel. So because he is a comic book writer, and because I knew this book was coming from him, I did order it. Although I've got to say, if I did not know Joe from those YouTube channels, I never would have ordered this. And that's no slight, really, other than on the solicitation copy. I remember reading the solicitation copy for number 1, and I was like, oh, God, Joe, I hope you didn't write that. I hope that, because I've never read anything by Joe. I just know him from those YouTube channels. And I was like, geez, if that's an indication of your writing, you talk a much better game than maybe you deliver. And I don't know whether or not that's true at this point, because like I said, I still haven't gotten around to reading these books. But based on that solicitation copy, which was, I thought, poorly written, and also didn't really give me any indication of why I might like the book, why it might be any different or more interesting than anything else. If I had not known Joe from those YouTube channels, I probably would have just passed over that solicitation entirely in the previous catalog, or had I taken the time to read it, I probably would have passed in the book. I would have been like, just another low-ball, independent, probably not very good comic book. So, if you've read Becstar, let me know in the comments below what you think of it. Is it great? Is Joe a genius? Or do I maybe want to be kind when I get around to reviewing this? I don't know. But anyway, I think Mad Cave needs a better person writing solicitations. This is Everfrost number 3. This is the first book I've ever purchased from Black Mask Comics. So if there are any other, there's the logo right there. If there are any other Black Mask comics that you like, let me know in the comments below. Let us all know. This is a dialogue not just between you and me, but pretty loyal group of fans. And I just noticed this little smiley face in her hair. That's funny. Now, I did read the first issue of this. I haven't got around to reading the second issue. I read the first issue, and it had parts of it that was good. And the artwork is pretty good. Here's a little of what it looks like inside. But, you know, when I first started this channel about 13, 14 months ago, nominally, the reason for doing it was to do comic book reviews, and I still haven't got around to doing that because I haven't quite decided like what format I want to do the reviews in, how I want to do them, what people will respond to the best. That's pretty cool. And, you know, so I fell into the trap of doing these weekly haul videos and the unboxing videos because they're easy. You know, you just basically turn on the camera and start shouting. Start hollering. But anyway, I started to do a review for this, and I had likened it in the review to Star Wars, and that it's got really great, fantastic parts to it. But the first issue of this felt very much like if the first edit of Star Wars had been what was actually released to theaters, or maybe not even the first edit of the film, but the first draft of the script that was way overblown and went way off in areas you really didn't need to go into, over-explained everything. And so, yeah, the first issue was okay, but it had a lot of weaknesses, I thought. And I think the biggest problem with a lot of these independent books, and this is especially true of Image Comics. Now, this one doesn't actually have an editor, Dan Hill. I have no idea who he is. But a lot of the independent books, and especially the Image books, are not very well edited. And a lot of times, the creators do, in fact, need an editor. Even when you want to kind of stay out of the way of the creative vision, they still need that guidance as far as the craft of making a comic book, because so many writers today have no idea how to actually make a comic book. They are doing what I think is the purpose of this book. This is Aftershock's The Girls of Dimension 13, number 5. I believe that's the last issue of this limited series. But they're writing scripts as if they are movie or television scripts, and effectively they're making pitches for future Netflix shows. And I haven't got around to reading this one either. I thought I would wait until I got the whole thing. And like I said, I think this is the last issue, number 5. But I went ahead and ordered it because I am getting a little... I'm falling out of love in a hard way with Marvel and DC. And so I'm trying a lot of independent companies. Because what is an independent company? Well, back in the day, we referred to an independent comic book was something that relied solely on the cover price. Where is it? This is, where is it? So we have it here, $3.99. Relied solely on the cover price for the revenue. There was no advertising. So it was independent of advertising, relying solely on sales. So that's basically all comic books, even Marvel and DC, to a large degree, independent comic book companies these days. But I ended up responding to the solicitation on the first issue of this because it looked very much like a cross between Paper Girls, if you're familiar with that series, that recently did get optioned as, is it Netflix or some other streaming service? It got optioned somewhere for a series. I don't think it's a movie, for a series. It felt like a cross between Paper Girls and Scooby-Doo. So I thought, what the heck, I'll give it a try. But as I say, a lot of comic books these days are being written as if they are pitches for a Netflix series or something, some streaming service series. And there have been a lot of books recently that they've had either groups or singular, such as this one, Everfrost, or Becstar, young female protagonist. Rather, again, he's as an individual or as a group, and that is partly the copycat syndrome and partly because I think a lot of people figure that's the kind of thing that Hollywood is going to option these days. That's what, oh God, I hate to use the buzzwords of woke and SGW and things like that, but that's what they figure the Hollywood execs are going to go for. So, does all of that have anything to do with this particular book as far as the quality of the story and the writing and the drawing? Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I haven't actually got around to reading it. But now that it's completed, I'll sit down, read that all in one go. Now, here is something that is most likely not going to get optioned in any shape, way, or form. Lester of the Lesser Gods. And this is a one-shot. I couldn't resist this. This is from Albatross Funnybooks, which is the publishing company, whether you want to call it self-publishing or vanity press, of Eric Powell, the creator of The Goon. And that's largely what this company does, is it publishes his book, The Goon. And I love The Goon. If you've never seen The Goon, then by golly, you really should treat yourself. Again, like we said, comic books these days sell very low numbers, and The Goon is well under 10,000 copies. It might even be under 5,000 copies when each issue comes out. So good luck finding an individual issue of The Goon, but there are trade paperbacks out there that are in print that you could go to your local comic book store and ask them to order in a Goon trade paperback from Diamond. Trust me, treat yourself. You're gonna like The Goon. And so because I like The Goon so much, I thought, well, I will give this kind of loser barbarian comedy thing a try. Lester of the Lesser Gods. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That looks like a lot of fun. Strange Academy is one of only 2 books that I am currently buying, regular ongoing series that I am buying from Marvel. Strange Academy, and then Daredevil is the other one. And this is basically Harry Potter in the Marvel Universe. It's a school for young magicians. Although it's named after Doctor Strange, it is the headmaster is Brother Voodoo. So this has been good. This has been fun. It's been a little erratic as with the publishing. It's missed months here and there. The coloring, as you can see, is very dark. And I did hem and haw over this to begin with, because I had a little bit of a mad on for Humberto Ramos back when Trump was first elected. And I did not vote for Trump myself. I think he's a knucklehead. But I hate even more the way people treat him and lie about him, particularly the media. And Humberto Ramos had gone onto social media and said that he was not going to do any conventions in any state that voted for Donald Trump. And I'm like, well, what about my state that splits its electoral votes? I live in a district that voted for Donald Trump, but I work in a district that didn't, and the state as a whole voted for Hillary Clinton. But luckily, Humberto Ramos hasn't said much on social media since then, at least that I have seen. And, back in the day, it's a good thing Twitter did not exist back when I was a kid, because, how much would I have, fallen out of favor with comic books? How much would I have grown to actually hate them if my favorites of the day, Marv Wolfman, George Perez, Paul Levitz, Keith Giffen, if they were on social media, every day berating and saying the worst, most horrible, evil, awful, even untrue things about Ronald Reagan, Not again that I have any particular fondness for Reagan, although I do think that he was probably the best president of my lifetime. Not that that is a very high bar to cross. It's an incredibly low bar. But, if back then, instead of, being interviewed occasionally in the fan press and talking mostly about their work and a little bit about how they did their work and not so much about themselves and their own political views, if they were just spouting off about Reagan all the time, I probably would be as annoyed then with comic books as I am now. But luckily, Ramos has kept a fairly, low profile since then. So I have given him a pass to a large degree because, hey, we all say stupid things. Even myself, I know you won't believe it because you know me from this channel to be just a ray of sunshine and delight. But even I occasionally say stupid things. So anyway, but that has been a good and fun series, and like I said, it's one of only two that I am currently buying from Marvel. This book, I haven't got around to reading it yet, but I have heard some really great things about it. I have heard this is really an excellent book, so I'm excited to read it. If you're not familiar, much like the Batman '89 that continued off of the Michael Keaton Batman movies, and that one is written by Sam Hamm, who wrote those movies. This continues supposedly off of the Christopher Reeve movies, Superman '78, but it's written by Robert Venditti because unfortunately we lost Richard Donner not that long ago, and we lost Mario Puzo a long time ago. But I'm excited about this. This is my Superman. I saw Superman when it came out in was it December, around Christmas time of 1978, and I would have just turned 11, so I was absolutely prime audience for that movie. I watched that up on the big screen, and I truly did believe a man could fly. And Christopher Reeve was the living embodiment, about as close as you could possibly get to the Kurt Swan Superman, which is what I knew as Superman. And so this Lex doesn't look a whole lot like Gene Hackman, and that doesn't look a whole lot like Margot Kidder, but supposedly, and frankly, this Superman doesn't look much like Christopher Reeve either. Well, a little bit, but I'm excited to read this. I'm looking forward to this, especially knowing that Superman 3, before they decided to bring in Richard Pryor for some box office name appeal, Superman 3 was originally supposed to feature Brainiac as the villain. So, this is exciting. And then lastly, this book was not on my pull list, but I have been buying this off the shelf. So I've got a pull list. I pre-order my books every month, but occasionally I will buy something off the shelf. I'll take a look every week, see what's out, see if something that appeals to me more in person than it did in the solicitations. And largely that's going to be Marvel and DC books because, frankly, my store, it's a small one, and pretty much everything other than Marvel, DC, even Image, it really only orders in to fill pull list. There's not a lot left over for shelf copies. But this was on the shelf, and the last few issues have featured alternate versions, more like almost an Earth 2 version of Superman and Batman, and so that has been fun. I have enjoyed this, and so that's a thing that exists. If that interests you. So, if there are any other books that came out, and again, we're talking last week, we're talking August 25th, if there are any other books that came out that week that you got, that you did not see me just go over, obviously I didn't buy it, so leave a comment below and let me know why that book is great and why I should have bought it, but here is what I bought instead. Rather than anything else that was on the shelf that I could have purchased, I chose instead to dive into the dollar bins. I got $10 books. So, for $10 I could have got 2 new comic books, maybe less than that, maybe just 1, depending on what I bought. But instead I chose to get 10 books out of the dollar bin. This isn't really a super big deal because most of it's the same thing, but I did see this, Sheena, and this is an adaptation of the 1984 movie that starred Tanya Roberts. That's Tanya Roberts, late of Charlie Angel's fame. And now just late, she actually died, I think, in January of sepsis. She had a urinary tract infection that became a blood infection. And so that's sad. She was what today I call fairly young, 65. Back in 84, I would have called that, approaching the undiscovered country, old AF. But these days, at my age, I think 65 is not that old. And so yeah, this is a 2-issue series. So we talked earlier at the beginning of this video about referring other stores in the comments below. Where do you get your books? Let me know if your store has a copy of Sheena #2, because now I need that, and I have no idea where I would ever get it. But anyway, that's that. Cool. And then the rest of this was just some filling in some holes in my Superman Volume 2 collection. So this is all from 99, 2000. And this back when they were doing the triangle numbering, when the books were, there were 4 Superman titles, and the story continued from one book to the other, almost as if it were a weekly series. And so you followed these triangle numbers. So that told you which order to read the books in. So there is Superman number 146, 165, 166 with some extra glare because it is a foil cover, 168. And I kind of fell out of buying the title at this time because I really didn't, nothing against McGinnis, the artist, but I didn't love that style of artwork. I thought the faces were too cartoony, and I didn't like the bubble muscle body types. This one isn't so bad. 169, 173. And also you started at this time to get a lot of crossovers with events. DC, that's when DC really got into doing these giant events every couple of months. And 175 is part of the Joker Last Laugh. But here you go. Here's a good example of that kind of bubble muscle anatomy. And I didn't love that. It's almost an impossibly small waist for that shoulder width. But yeah, I kind of fell out of the book at that time. So this gives me a chance to fill in a few holes in my collection, and that is what I chose to do because I only got 7 new books this week, and so I wasn't quite at budget. I usually spend about, after discount and after sales tax, about $25, $30 a week, and I wasn't quite at budget, so I decided to dive into the dollar bins. So again, let me know if there was something that came out that you think I should have got. Maybe if it's there, I can still try it. Or if you shout out to your comic book store, the one that you shop at down below, maybe I can get it there. If there's something that came out that you love, and I chose one of these older books instead, let me know. Let me know what you think of these books that we did talk about, or respond to what I had to say, good or bad. But otherwise, that's it. That's the haul. We'll see you again next week, or maybe even later this week with this week's haul. And until then, goodbye, good luck, and please be good to each other. And I did have an horror with this to begin with because I had a little bit of a not hard on, excuse me. That'll be edited into the blooper reel at the at the end of this video.